This is for Drew and for anyone else who might find it interesting. I was going to do a video on letting go, but decided I was too busy letting go to talk about it. Death and children. Children actually understand death in some ways a whole lot better than adults, because they're very accepting. They accept reality, but they also have such wonderful imaginations that they can interpret what's taking place in their own way. Children who are dying, which is, I know, not what you asked me about, but nonetheless it's perhaps helpful to raise, are generally extremely accepting of what's happening to them, far more so, obviously, than their parents. Often choose to die alone and come up with very beautiful ways of interpreting it and understanding it. There was a period of time in history, and I think in some ways it still continues, where society felt children needed protecting from death in some way. So they, for example, if their parents died, they were not invited to the funeral. This didn't protect the children at all, of course. What it did was deny them the opportunity to grieve and to share and to talk about what was happening. The video I'm going to attach this to has in the sidebar quite a useful description of ways of exploring this with different ages of children, because of course, you know, you can't discuss death with a 1-year-old or a 2-year-old in the same way that you can with a teenager or a child in those middle years. But don't be afraid. People who are suffering a loss of some description need to discuss it, need to be allowed to feel what they feel. Pretense won't help. Pretense will not avoid the feelings. It will simply shove them down. Quite often children find themselves forced into the position of actually protecting the adults around them who don't appear to want to talk about it. So the child becomes the adult when it's not actually capable of being that or containing the powerful emotions that it may be feeling. Don't patronise the child. Don't wrap death up in a pretty package. I mean, it obviously depends upon the beliefs of the family. If you're raising your child in a particular set of beliefs, then inevitably you're going to present those beliefs to your child. But do be aware that not everyone is going to agree with them. So you may offer your child an interpretation of what's taking place, and others, whether it be friends, family, school, whatever, are going to offer them something different, and that may be confusing for them. So in some senses, it's better to just ask them how they feel about that person not being there, how they feel about the loss, how it impacts upon them. Don't tell them too much. Ask them and deal with the feelings that they have. Many children just need comfort, need to be allowed to feel, need to be allowed to explore in their own way. This is not the same, obviously, but Father Christmas, for example, I don't like the fact that society lies to children. It doesn't teach them a particularly good lesson. But my daughter asked me from fairly early on whether Father Christmas existed, and I said to her, "What do you think?" And at the point she said, "No, I don't think he exists." Then I said, "No, he doesn't." But until that point, she wasn't ready to hear it. So listen out for what the child is saying, what messages the child is giving you. Don't choose on its behalf, because every single child is different. we retain a connection with those who have died, who we have been close to, whether or not we believe they're out there one way or another. Love does not die in our hearts when somebody dies. They will always be with us. My father died 26 years ago, and he feels as tangible and real to me as he did when he was still alive. I know I'll never see him again. I know he's not here, but he exists, in my genes, and that of my children, but also in my mind, in my memories, in my emotions, in my heart. That connection remains very strong. Who I am has been shaped by him in all sorts of different ways. So try not to be too either factual or illusory. Don't present the child with what looks like something which will reassure them that everything's absolutely fantastic. You know, when you lose somebody, it's not. Whether they've gone to the other side of the world and you'll never see them again, or whether they've died, it hurts. Allow them to feel that pain. Be there for them. Do not rescue them from that pain. That is so important. And I think we as adults tend to do that to one another as well. You know, please don't feel this because I find it uncomfortable. You as the adult need to be strong enough to allow your child to feel that pain, even though you don't want them to, and to be there in it with them, to talk about it in a way they need you to talk about it, not to steer them where you want them to go. I can take this further, but I think this is a start. It's perhaps, I don't know, would you consider it radical? Let me know.